without further ado, I'm going to get rolling here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and it should be up there now. So whoever my Veracruz Bloom support resources, if you guys, or if you're not seeing my presentation, just chime in and let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get rolling here. So again, appreciate everyone being in today's meeting. Obviously, I'm sure you read kind of the recap, and that's part of why you joined today's presentation. But as CimCloud, we're going to kind of walk through how our e-commerce and CRM solutions not only work with Sage 100, but work for Sage 100 users. So I'm going to walk through a pretty brief agenda. I will be demoing today, making sure I get some product in front of you. But again, just going to kind of get rolling here. I think you can see me on screen, but I always like introducing myself with some context. So my name is Jack Evans. I am an account executive at CimCloud. Really think of me just as a sales consultant working with new or prospective customers, understanding their business requirements, understanding their software needs, whether that's strictly e-commerce focused or a hybrid of our e-commerce and CRM solutions. So again, validating what those requirements are, helping put together a project plan. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then making sure that we have a project team to execute the work. And I'll get into all that throughout today's presentation, but just like putting some context on the screen, you do see my contact information. So as always, feel free to reach out to me directly, or you can just let your Veracruz team know, hey, I'd like to talk CimCloud. They'll get you linked in with me as well. So I'm going to kind of bring up an agenda slide here today. And really, we're going to start with just the landscape of B2B sellers and really what that e-commerce landscape looks like. Won't spend a ton of time there. I have one quick slide I'm going to hit. I'm going to walk through CimCloud as a solution provider. Again, how it works for you as a business, how, again, you can leverage our solutions with your Sage 100 install. And then we're going to talk through having success with general software implementations. So obviously, I have a CimCloud bend towards me, but again, we're going to talk through solutions you can take external to just e-commerce or CimCloud, and then talk through what you can do and what we work through. I'm going to do a very condensed version of what I walk through with clients to make sure we're setting you up for success with us. So again, I'm going to kind of start powering here. I'm going to get one quick sip of water. And then I'm going to hit our first slide here. So really positioning kind of the B2B e-commerce landscape. And you're seeing here kind of the current state of B2B sellers. So for those of you on our session today, really take a brief second to reflect kind of where you fit into these 4 buckets. And for me, again, working with our reseller community, working with people who happen to come upon us directly, they always seem to fall into one of these 4 buckets, the clients do that I work with, right? So the first bucket is people who don't have existing web assets. Historically, these are people, our market, our industry, our business model, our customer base is not conducive for e-commerce and online selling. And I would kind of piggyback on that. This could even be people who don't have any web properties because maybe they're a new business. So they've either an expansion of an existing business model, maybe they're again, somebody who's just now getting to the phase where they're have existing customers and have, an addressable market to sell into. But again, this first bucket of people are people that have absolutely no web properties and historically have not viewed online selling or websites in general as valuable for their business. Not very common, but definitely things that I see. The second bucket is we have a website. So this is a very common bucket for people to fall into when they come to work with me. I would categorize this as people who have a marketing website. So if you search for jackevansinc.com, you can find them. You can validate that they have an About Us section. Maybe they have a Contact Us page where it has, store locations or, distributorship locations, maybe even a general contact email. But they have some existing website, but it's not utilized as a selling asset and is truly just there for informational purposes. So when they come to me, it's, hey, we have a website, but we really want to expand and start doing business online. And that's where I come in and help put together a roadmap there. The third bucket, these e-commerce players are people, they have an existing website, they are doing online selling, but for one way, shape, or form, it's not as valuable of a sales asset as what they would like it to be. So that could be anything from, hey, we're doing online selling, but it's not integrated and it's creating manual rekeying requirements. It could be, hey, we have wholesale e-commerce available for our B2B customers, but all they can see is their web activity. They don't have complete visibility into their customer history. So again, they see the value in online selling. They've taken efforts to get into an environment where they can do online selling, but they need improvements really so they can achieve, complete success and complete, again, value from those investments into online properties. And then the fourth bucket here are your e-commerce leaders. And that is what my goal is to when working with any client, right? Is people who are working with fully integrated e-commerce solutions. It doesn't have to have all the bells and whistles, but it's accomplishing, core business objectives for them as a client of CimCloud. And again, it's not only used for new business generation and a differentiator within their competitive landscape, but it's also a huge operational benefit for them in reducing that customer service cost and ultimately providing a better customer experience without having to grow their headcount to service those customers. And we'll get into all that momentarily. So again, if you're in today's session, I would imagine, and I can say with high confidence, you fit into one of these four buckets. And again, anyone I work with, my primary objective is getting them into the e-commerce leaders category there. So just kind of teeing up what potential or prospective or even existing CimCloud users look like, right? So now I'm going to pivot into CimCloud as a solution provider. And again, you're seeing this platform vision slide here. I'm not going to read these slides to you, but really want to focus on the two big buzzwords there. Maximizing your market share and maximizing your operational efficiency. Great buzzwords, but really what does that boil down to, right? So for us as a solution provider, we want to make sure that within your addressable market or within your existing client base, you are maximizing all the revenue that you can get from there. And an example that I commonly use is, say I am either a wholesale distributor or a manufacturer of products, and I have my customers, I'm a supplier for them, and they buy from me or one or two or three other competitors, right? And so I'm getting 30% of wallet share, or I'm getting 50% of wallet share. But what I really want is to get 100% of wallet share. And I want to do that by being a premium experience provider or a premium vendor and giving them that level of service that they don't get from other suppliers, right? So you can compete on cost. And that's, a tough game to play in. You're reducing your margin when you play in that space. Or you can compete based off of premium customer experience and flexibility for those customers. So again, part of what we are trying to do is make sure that you're capturing all the revenue you can and doing it in ways that are efficient for the business, which is that second buzzword there. So an example I commonly use here, right? We're using online selling as a differentiator. We're either growing our existing customer revenue or adding new customers by being that premium solution provider. But when we do that without, economies of scale, we're having to add additional sales reps, additional customer service reps, additional people in the collections department to make sure we're getting paid for our goods and services. But if you can provide self-service solutions like CimCloud, which I'll show momentarily, you can grow that revenue while keeping operational costs flat. Or you can reduce your operational cost of servicing customers by saying, I've gone from 4 customer service reps to 2 customer service reps. I've taken those 2 seasoned customer service reps that have been with the business for 10 years. I've put them either into project roles, new customer acquisition roles, and I can keep that exact same employee cost, again, while increasing that revenue or even reducing that employee cost because you're not having to outsource customer service activities because the volume is reduced. So again, what does that boil down to? Increasing profit for the business, which can be reinvested, which can be reallocated, or it can be to paying your employees more and making sure that you're retaining that high quality talent. So again, great buzzwords, vision, platform, market share, operational efficiency, all great. But at the end of the day, you as a business leader, decision maker, owner are trying to make sure you're more profitable so that you can reinvest in the business and grow in that manner. So just a quick slide there. our target market. So, I talked about where people are in the e-commerce landscape when I start working with them. But what do those businesses look like, right? So they are product centric in the sense of they are either manufacturing or distributing products throughout a value chain. So again, they could be selling doorknobs, they could be selling chemical supplies. I mean, I'll even go back to the last 3 or 4 months of projects that I've worked on. You got chemical distributors, you have fireworks distributors, you have consumer goods distributors, you have electronics distributors. All of those, again, are holding product and selling it throughout a supply chain, which is where that B2B component comes in. So we do have direct consumer tools. I'll show you some of those in a minute when we get into a demo. But our primary focus as a business is on business to business selling organizations. So why is that our core competency and our primary focus? Because everything we do has Sage integration or ERP integration as the backbone of what we do as a solution provider, right? So why is that specific to a B2B landscape? Well, your customers have negotiated pricing. They have terms, maybe they're net 15, net 30, net 60, net 90. They have specific product lines that apply to them. So we don't want to show them everything that we have. We want to show them the products that are specific to them. They have a deep account history. They have invoicing that they need to deal with. So again, leveraging that ERP data becomes ultimately way more important in a B2B landscape, because if it's not tailored to what they're getting via phone, fax, and email, they're just going to pick up the phone or email in and continue doing business the same way they always have. Revenue ranges on here. I'll say I work with customers on the bottom end of that frequently, engage with clients, 150 million north right now. So again, I really highlight that not to show anything other than customer diversity, which I've already alluded to. And again, we have 400 plus active customers. So for us as a solution provider, not just an integration provider, we have to fund R&D and mature our product. And we do that by looking at 400 plus customers, aggregating what their needs are, what their feedback is, what their demands are, what they need to grow and evolve as a business. And so it's really beneficial for clients of ours to get that holistic approach versus having one well-funded client who drives all of our product and R&D initiatives. So really include that solely to show customer diversity. And then on the North American-based companies, we're based in Greenville, South Carolina, which is right in the middle of Charlotte and Atlanta, down here in the Southeast. And again, for us, part of what we're doing is providing 24/7 technical support, after-hours support. And what we want to make sure is that we don't run into time zone or language barriers that would debilitate our ability to execute and really service you well as a customer. So that's the primary reason for that North American focus. And then lastly, before I get into a demo environment here, I think it's really important to tee up our solution and kind of the backbone from a data standpoint of what we are doing as a solution provider. So I'm going to actually draw on screen here. It might get me into a little bit of a crazy scenario, and bear with me on drawing because I don't promise to be a designer or artist here. But what we are doing is taking that existing Sage 100 install, and all we are doing is installing our sync tool directly onto that ERP server so that we can tap into the business objects. That's a horrible rectangle, but so that we can tap into both the big data and the little data within your organization. So big data, your customers, your products, the customer bill tos, the customer ship tos, inventory levels on those products, MSRP on those products, shipment methods, tax schedules, all of that data that lives in the ERP that applies across the organization. Additionally, we're looking at the micro information, right? So your negotiated pricing versus your negotiated pricing. Are you net 15? Are you net 30? Or do you have to pay at the time of purchase? What's your invoice history? What's your sales order history? So all of that data, both big and small, goes into our cloud data hub that's going to sit here in the middle of our application. So think of that being the first part of that data highway. We then push that data to and from applications for both employees and customers. And I'll show you visually in a demo environment what that looks like here. But ultimately, the goal is to take as many, if not all, phone, fax, email, in-person interactions that you're having with customers and that are required to have with customers, and providing alternatives to do business online. And again, doing business online in the same level of quality and the same level of customer specificness, if specificness is a word, that they would get via phone, fax, and email interactions. And then having anything that happens out here on the web flow back into the ERP system. So if I place an order, if I make an invoice payment, pushing that order back in, working with payment gateways to push cash receipts in on those invoice payments. So not my best effort drawing, honestly, not my worst effort on the drawing, but really what you should be seeing here is this bi-directional integration where we're using the ERP system as really the one source of truth for the business, or the primary database. And then anytime changes are made in the ERP, our sync tool is going to notice that. It's going to make that change on the website or on the web portal. And then again, anytime something happens out here on the web, it's going to trigger that sync tool to bring that data back down and put it in the appropriate place inside the ERP system. So again, very, very high level, but I think it's always really helpful to just kind of see and tee up the data structure behind our application. One thing I will mention is just, again, when you're looking at other solutions, so say I have a Shopify site or I have a Magento site, those could live out here. And then again, you can just leverage our API environment to say, hey, I need to pull orders in from these systems and then bring them through our cloud data hub into our ERP system. So a lot of solution flexibility, but at the core of our application and the way that the solution is built is all around having that bi-directional platform-oriented integration there. So I'm going to get this drawing off screen here. Let's see if I can get it out of here easily. And then what I want to do is go back to my automatic. And again, the last slide here, I've already mentioned this, so I'm not going to spend any time here, but ultimately the reason for working with CimCloud as a solution provider is because you want to scale your business and you want to grow your business, and you want to do that without having to add proportionate headcount. So attracting new customers, keeping those customers, growing revenue within that existing customer base, doing that in efficient manners so that you can maintain profitability and grow your profitability as a business there. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. We've already talked about that a good bit in the initial intro slide for us. So now I'm going to hop into a demo environment. Before I do that, just again, a general disclaimer, I'm going to stay pretty high level today. I would love the opportunity to have a one-on-one demo, talk through your specific business, show you ways that our solution can be tailored to fit your business. So this is definitely not going to be a one-size-fits-all situation here, but just kind of want to show you what our offering looks like and kind of what I walk through when working with clients. So if I can slide over here now. Why is it not letting me do that? All right, so here we are. So for starters, I've referenced, again, the ability to deploy B2C sites. What you're seeing on screen here is we have a website approach, right? So this is my demo site here. This is the public facing website, or the direct to consumer portion of what we can deploy for clients, right? So if you came to me and said, hey, Jack, I either don't have a website, or we have an outdated website, the kind of the marketing degree of that, the about us, the meet the team, the contact us. We have a retail template, which is what you're seeing here on screen, that you could fit into as a user, right? So think of your words, your logos, your color schemes, your products, your information, all within the confines of this template. So to show you just a real quick live customer example there, I lost my mouse. So a live customer example here would be, again, Curtis Restaurant. That's an existing customer of ours. And again, you see a lot of parallels between the public-facing portion of their site and the public-facing portion of my demo site here. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time there, but just do like to highlight the ability to show products online, to sell products online, to expose and have flexibility in how you do that. So do I want a non-logged in user to see pricing? Or do I want them to see an icon that says sign in to see pricing? Do I want to show them specific products, or do I want to show them my entire product offering? If I am going to sell direct to consumer, do I want to let them check out as a guest, or do I want to require them to create an account so that I have a specific customer record inside of Sage 100 to tie that to? So these are all questions that my job is to work through with you But again, just wanted to highlight things that we can do on the direct to consumer side here. Now I'm going to focus really on the B2B portion of this, which is our core application here. And so think of this kind of workflow here. So whether this is a CimCloud public facing site or your existing marketing website, all we need is a link that would basically be a sign-in link or a customer portal link or a wholesaler login link. I see a lot of different vernacular on how that's presented, but all we need is a link exposed that says, hey, B2B customer, this is where you log in to do business. And it's going to take them into a login screen on our application or embed a login screen like this within our public facing site templates there. So regardless of how they get there, we just want to get them to a login screen for those B2B customers. And so a couple things here. If we're bringing it over from an existing website that's not a CimCloud website, we'll just prefix that URL. So maybe it's jack.com is the existing website you have. And when they hit the CimCloud portion of your web properties, it becomes shop.jack.com, for lack of a better example there. And what we're wanting to do is get a user to log in, with their specific credentials that are tied to their customer record, i.e. their ERP data, to make sure that not only are they in a secure environment to do business, but they're seeing their pricing, their products, their account history, all things that I'll show you here momentarily. So you're seeing the dashboard view of our product here. We can also show this in more of a retail view, and you have flexibility, and again, part of stuff that I work through with you. But I'm really going to focus here on this dashboard view and demo within this dashboard view. So again, just imagine your logo, your color schemes all within this template. And one other disclaimer here, or two other disclaimers actually. So this can be hit anywhere with internet access. So this is all mobile responsive. You can hit it from a smartphone, from a tablet, from a laptop, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the other thing that I'll call out is you're seeing a lot of different icons on here, all part of our standard package, not including add-on bundles, but all part of our standard package. But you don't have to deploy all of these different features and icons on screen here. So you can really trim down that functionality and make sure that users are only going where you want them to go. So it's a very contained environment. And a way to basically make sure once you get them into a transactional mindset, again, you're capturing that revenue. So up here is all about product discovery. So this is a general product catalog here. One thing that I do like highlighting kind of within this product catalog is, again, that you have categories, subcategories, having an ability to toggle between a list view and a gallery view. Again, giving users an ability to shop even when they're a B2B, more purchasing oriented customer. So one thing I want to highlight when it relates to products is I'm actually going to show you a couple different ways that we're leveraging our Sage 100 integration. So this is a coffee maker, generic product here. But one thing that you're seeing coming over is name, SKU, and price, all coming from the ERP system. But what I like highlighting here is this is the exact same product. So this is me as an anonymous, non-logged in user. I'm seeing this 508 discounted pricing that any Joe Schmo, Jack Evans that stumbles across the website can see. But when I'm a logged in user, I'm going to see my negotiated rates. I'm going to see my quantity discounts. So again, giving that customer specific environment and leveraging that ERP data. So I'm just going to add a couple items to cart here. One other thing that I'll highlight before I go through the additional workflows is the related products. So a way to say, hey, B2B customer, you're here to buy this, but these are some complementary goods that typically go with that. So a way to look for cross-sell, upsell opportunities without having to really interact with the customer, just guiding what you want them to see on the site. You're also seeing MSDS or spec sheets here, long form marketing descriptions, images, you can embed videos. So again, very rich content on these product detail pages. Other ways that you can get products in front of customers aside from shopping. So some more purchasing oriented approaches, things like favorites list, things like frequently and recently ordered reports that are really just looking at their transactional history from the ERP system. So total quantity ordered, when was the most recent time you ordered it, and then giving them a really quick and easy way to add these items to cart. So again, you have your shopping behavior and then your purchasing behavior, and making sure that we have flexibility for both kind of workflows that customers come in on. And then the last thing that I like highlighting here is our bulk add to cart or quick order functionality. Again, very purchasing oriented, very B2B minded functionality here, where users can come in. Maybe they have an existing paper catalog. Maybe they're looking at old invoices or sales orders, and they can just go SKU type and use our type ahead functionality there. They can even do kind of line by line typing here, where they just give you SKU quantity. And they can even do a CSV upload. So different ways to get bulk added or add items in bulk to the cart. So obviously these two require them knowing valid SKUs. But again, giving them flexibility on how they go about purchasing from you and a way to do that in bulk. One thing I'm going to do before I go to more of the visibility side of this B2B customer portal is I'm actually going to place this order and walk you through the workflow on checking out. So again, when I go to view and edit my cart, it's just going to confirm what's there. Nothing groundbreaking or earth shattering there. Again, it's going to know who I am. So my username and password are going to be tied to a contact at that company who has a defined bill to address, who has multiple or a single ship to address. But again, it's going to pre-populate this information, make that checkout experience easier, reduce the overhead for those clients, all in the spirit of giving them that easy, same experience they get by emailing in or phoning in orders, but in an online environment. So I'm going to save and proceed here. It's going to walk me through one last step on confirming my cart. And then it's going to take me to the payment page here. So shipping is a discussion that I always have to have with clients. We have a lot of flexibility on how we can handle shipping. So here you're seeing it highlighting our standard integration with FedEx. We also have a standard integration with UPS. We can use internal rate tables. We can have those configured on the back end of our site. A common B2B use case, and always makes our discussions easier, is our customers are used to seeing shipping cost added upon invoice, so we don't even need to account for it on the site front. So shipping is always a big discussion there, but we do have a lot of flexibility, and we've seen obviously a lot of different approaches across 400 active customers and probably 700, 800 projects over a 20-year period in business. And then the final thing to highlight here, and this is again where we're looking at the terms code on that customer record. So are they net 15? Are they net 30? So if this is a net 15 customer, they'll see the ability to purchase as an invoice or as a PO. So I could just put this in as a test order. But again, if I'm not terms-based, I'm not going to see that invoice. So showing that flexibility, showing how we're looking at terms code to drive that checkout experience. And then again, all I got to do is place this order. It's going to automatically sync back into the ERP system. It's going to send a confirmation. It can send it to the customer, obviously. You can also configure it to send maybe to your fulfillment team, to your customer service team, to your sales team. So really making sure that when you introduce online selling, excuse me, you're not creating a bottleneck or a gap in communication for the organization. So you still need to know what's coming in there. You're seeing us prefix this web order with a W. I'm actually going to grab that so I can show you all this order back in Sage in just a minute here. So really that is kind of the product discovery, the checkout, and ultimately the order placement workflow there that your customers would experience. Now we're going to shift into kind of visibility into historical orders and invoices. But what I wanted to do, and hopefully it still has my login set up, and it doesn't. So I'm actually going to show you this order that we just placed inside of my Sage 100 install. So again, what we had about a 45-second gap there, but as soon as that order is placed, our sync tool is going to recognize it on the site front. It's going to populate that inside of Sage 100, and you'll notice again, no one had to touch it, no one had to rekey it. No one had to make any additional steps. All I needed to do was have the order placed, and it's going to flow back in. So coming back in here, we're also going to bring back, and I mentioned this earlier, but we're bringing back all orders from that customer's or from the ERP system for that customer. So not just web orders, but traditional orders that came in from manually keying in. Maybe they emailed in, maybe it was just applied, even as an EDI order, as long as it's in Sage 100, we're going to bring it up to the site. So I was like highlighting this little area here. So if you look kind of above the fold, all these have that W prefixing the order to let us know that it came from the web. But you're also seeing the numerical order number, and that's just highlighting, again, this would be historical orders from the customer, maybe before the e-commerce solution was implemented, or maybe they had somebody email in or whatever happened along the way. But those orders, they still need visibility there. And so even if it's an offline order, they can come in, they can see the line items on it. If it was a completed order, they'd see the invoices and the shipments tied to it. So this is all sales order data that's just being transposed into our interface so that it's a little bit easier to use online. I'm going to highlight a completed order here just to show y'all one that has a little bit more data on it. So again, this is a completed order. You're going to see the invoice tied to that order. I could go to that invoice right there. And then the shipment, this is a FedEx order. So we're actually going to bring up that tracking number. This is a fake tracking number, but if it was valid, it would connect me straight into that FedEx tracking. And then I, as a user, know exactly where my goods are en route. Similarly, on the invoicing side, we can bring up all of those open invoices and/or completed invoices and allow users to interact in that same way. So I can see the invoice, I can see the order that it's tied to, all of which is important, again, for that whole quote to cash process, making sure your customers know when their invoices are due, and then giving them an easy way to pay those invoices online. And one thing I like highlighting here, I came to pay this specific invoice, but it's going to bring back my entire open balance. Hopefully nobody else has 8 months, 10 months, 12 months of open AR. But if you do, we want to probe users to pay us in full, but we also want to collect everything we can and then give them efficient payment methods that you would configure. So credit card, ACH, etc., making sure, again, we give an easy way for you to get paid from customers. So that is a very, very, very high level walkthrough of my customer portal. Now I'm going to pivot into the employee side, which comes standard with all CimCloud applications. So similar to how my customers are going to have a login that's tied to data and rights and activities, my employees are going to have a login that's tied to specific activities that we want to allow that employee to use. So let's say this is Jack, the sales rep. All Jack needs to see is the CRM workspace, and all Jack needs to see are accounts that are tied to him. So maybe Jack's the East Coast rep, and Jack only needs to see East Coast accounts, whereas Sally is the West Coast rep. She needs a login specific to her so that she can only see West Coast accounts. So really making sure that we're protecting that data and then also creating tools specific for the user. So I can see things like what my customers have done online. I can see what they're searching for. I can go in and look at account information. I can go in and look at orders either across all my accounts or at the specific account level. Same thing on the invoicing side. So again, the same ERP data access that your customers need, your employees also need. Now they can go directly and interface with Sage to get that, or they can leverage this versus having to VPN, or they can hit it remotely. So a lot of value add for customer facing employees here. But similarly, your administrative employees, so take customer facing off the table, your people that are responsible for the e-commerce solution also need workspaces. So you're seeing the product workspace here, where we're converting raw Sage data on products into rich catalog data that's got categories, that has rich images, descriptions, related products, all of which can be done in bulk, but all of which can be managed at the product level once you're in a live environment. Same thing with your content pages if you are deploying content pages. So that could be, a public website that has about us and meet the team and dealer locator and all that good stuff. So again, administrative employees can leverage our content and product workspace to create what I would consider to be a more rich online environment. And then the final workspace I want to highlight here is our settings workspace. And again, this is where I, as the administrative employee, am going to go through and do all of the initial setup. I'm going to go through and make changes. I'm going to go through and set up my payment gateways. I'm going to go in create my different search terms and what I want those results to come back at, shipping methods, tax settings. Again, if I'm the administrator, I want to make sure that Jack and Sally have their CRM access, but Bob and Joe only have their administrative access. So you get the gist here, really giving a fully baked backend CMS system and an application management system that's part of the overall core application itself there. So again, a lot of things that I could have spent more time on here. I guess the one thing I didn't on the CRM side is I can actually leverage this to place orders on behalf of a customer, so it can be an alternative order entry tool. But again, just wanted to give you a very high level run through of not only the customer portal, but also the employee portal logins. So coming back to my presentation here, really pivoting. So we've talked about where you might be in the B2B e-commerce landscape. And we've talked about what CimCloud can do as a solution provider when you are in a live environment. But what's important is, how do you get there? And so this next section, strategies for success, I would really say apply across the board when you're implementing solutions. But again, obviously they have a little bit more of an e-commerce bend. So not going to read screen to you, but the first thing that's key for any implementation success is having organizational alignment. So if it's a B2B e-commerce website, you want to make sure that your sales reps see value in it. They don't see it as a competitive threat to their day-to-day operations. You want to make sure that your collections team sees it as an asset. You want your sales managers and your customer-facing employees and your customer service reps promoting it to customers. So again, alignment is key to making sure that you have success and ultimately that you get bucket 4 here, which is adoption. Second icon here, so taking a phased approach, that is a primary part of my day-to-day job, is working with customers like yourselves to say, what is our long-term vision and what does a phase 1 versus phase 2 versus phase 3 look like to make sure that we're getting ROI and realizing success. I've spent a lot of time on the ERP integration, but again, leveraging your business critical data sources is key for success in any implementation, but most importantly for B2B e-commerce, right? If I'm a customer, I log in to use your online portal or your website, I don't see my pricing, I don't see an ability to check out based on my terms, I'm not going to use the system. You're never going to realize adoption from me. I'm going to continue calling in and emailing in so that I don't waste time going to a website that isn't built for me as a customer of yours. And all 3 of those things tie into adoption, right? So it's not field of dreams. If you build it, they won't come. You got to make sure that you build it, you promote it, you incentivize it, and you show value by doing the things that we've already talked about, so that users say, I can call in, I can email in, but it's just as easy for me to go online, anywhere, anytime, any device to do business. And again, that's going to help you grow that revenue. It's going to help you keep that revenue. It's going to help you differentiate from competitors. So again, all the things we spent a lot of time on today. And then finally, what does success with CimCloud look like? And there's 3 slides that I want to hit here. And again, this is a very abbreviated version of what we would go through in a sales process. But these are just some general things to keep in mind and things that I make sure to spend a good bit of time on when going through sales discovery. So you need to understand the process. You need to understand what purchase of CimCloud to go live looks like. You need to understand the intermediate steps. You need to understand the work and the capacity that's needed to execute. And you need to understand what a project team looks like, which ties into the key roles, right? So saying, hey, I have 3 employees that are going to be focused on this in some capacity. One of them is going to have 80% focus, one's going to have 40% focus, and one's going to have 10% focus. Well, let's structure the team accordingly. If we need to add horsepower from CimCloud, from one of my implementation partners, from additional interns or new hires on your side, let's make sure that we have the organizational horsepower to go through that process that we've already identified. Obviously, that goes into filling the key roles. And then I've already mentioned this, but define what your goals are, not just short term, but long term. So an example here would be, I want to move 50% of my business, of my wholesale business online over the next 3 years. Okay, well, I'm not just going to snap my finger and have that happen, right? So there's going to be intermediate projects and steps that go into that long-term objective. So I'm going to have short-term goals, that are aligned with that long-term vision, which comes into our 3PS framework here. So gotta love a good acronym, but really what this boils down to is looking at a CimCloud or any implementation within the confines of it is a long-term program, right? So we are taking on an e-commerce program. We have established long-term goals. So going back to the example there, I want to move 50% of my business for my wholesale customers online in the next 3 years. Great goal, realistic goal. I have a vision, and it's going to be, again, attainable, realistic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what is going to happen is a series of projects. So maybe phase one is getting a simple accounts receivable portal up. Customers can see invoices, they can pay invoices, they can see old orders. That can be step one. Step two might be opening up for new ordering. So, hey, I want to sell just this product line or just to this customer grouping. I want to allow them to buy online. And then maybe phase three is doing a overhaul of your public facing website. So the entire experience is more cohesive for users. That would be an example of a long-term program and a series of projects. Now, the third P, the platforms, again, with CimCloud, the platform could be part of the program, but there's also supporting platforms that tie into those projects that tie into that program. And making sure, again, that you have an infrastructure. So maybe that's updating your Sage version. Maybe that's step one. Maybe you need to get a good project management system in place to make sure that as you're mapping out this program vision, you have something to track progress towards goal. So again, making sure you have the platform to support the projects and the projects to support the program. And ultimately what you're trying to do here is provide solutions. So again, going back to adoption, you are not only creating an infrastructure to solve the problem, but you're actually solving the problem. So again, you can build a rocket ship, but if it just sits there and collects dust, it just becomes a big old expensive piece of metal. So the solution itself is something we can't lose sight of. And the solution in the program are that long-term kind of ramp up that we're trying to get to. So that's a 3PS framework, very abbreviated. And again, something that I help coach and think through on when working with clients like yourselves. And then kind of just in general, providing support resources for working exclusively with CimCloud, right? So coming back to just CimCloud focused, you don't need to have to pick up the phone or email or call a customer service rep or call your customer success manager. When you have tools like our help center that walk through different parts of the project. So that might be an implementation checklist that you as the project manager need to be aware of. That might be, hey, I bought this bundle or I'm considering buying this bundle. How does it work? How do I install it? How do I set it up? It could be, hey, I'm replacing an existing website. What do I need to be aware of? How do I need to go through that process? And we have resources to help you think through that. But if you can be self-sufficient, then not only are you implementing a self-service solution, but you're self-servicing the implementation of that solution. So a lot of confusing words there. But again, we at CimCloud are helping you build solutions for your customers to self-service. And we have to deploy resources like our help center that allow you as the CimCloud site owner to be self-sufficient as well. So I can spend a lot of time on our help center. It's something that has been a big initiative for myself and a handful of other key resources over the last year and a half. You know, I was in a planning meeting yesterday for kind of wave 2 of our help center. So a big focus for our organization is giving you the tools you need to be successful. So that's kind of the general presentation today. Do want to open it up for Q&A. I'm going to monitor if anything's come into that chat window. So let me get, where is my chat window here? And if my Raucous Bloom support resource that may or may not be on here can hear me, am I overlooking where that chat window might be?
It looks like you're just still on the Q&A session window, or is that the right one you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm just not seeing my control panel here to where I can see if any questions have come in. I may just take the approach of hitting some common questions that I do get, but I don't want to ignore anyone's specific question here. One second. Yes. All right, so here's what we're going to do as a little bit of a pivot here. So I'm going to put my contact information on screen. I'm going to walk through some common questions that I go through, 2 or 3 of them, just to be efficient with everyone's time here. So if you have specific, hey, Jack, I need to know this, again, drop it to me via the email here or call me later today or right now, honestly, for all I care. But I want to make sure I get your one-on-one questions here. But some common questions that I get. So our ability to work with Sage 100, right? So we go through, we do the initial integration. You're in a live environment. You're on Sage version 2019 or 2020 or 2021, and that's all great. So 2025 comes around. Hey, CimCloud, we're about to upgrade our ERP version. What do we need to do? Do we have to start over? Do we have to rebuild the integration? The answer is no, which is very, very beneficial for you as a user. So we have a simple upgrade process when you go from version 2019 or 2021 to the newest version. That's 2 to 4 professional service hours from my team to go in, reconfigure a couple points, make sure that it's compatible with your new version, and you're off and running. We schedule that so that your users don't experience any issues or any hiccups on the e-commerce site itself. So that's a very common question. Another common question kind of in parallel with that is what happens if I need downtime on my ERP system? So you mentioned all of this is powered by ERP data. What happens if my ERP system is down for any reason? That could be down for maintenance. That could be down for version upgrades. That could be down because a storm hit in the middle of the night and our on-premise server gave out on us. So that is a situation where if that's the case, our sync tool basically pauses. All of the data on the site front lives in the format it was in when the sync tool disconnected. And then as soon as that connection is reestablished, all of those orders are going to pull back in, or all of those ERP updates are going to push back out. So again, CimCloud is an independent environment from your Sage 100 install. And again, is really going to give you that flexibility to say, hey, I want to use my ERP system as a source of record, but I also realize that there's going to be changes to that environment, and I would need to make sure that it's compatible with my e-commerce site because, hey, I'm trying to move X% of my business into a CimCloud application. I've hit on this a little bit, but the ability to work with existing websites. So I referenced if you have an existing marketing website, we can just link from that site into our customer portals. Additionally, if you have an existing direct-to-consumer site, we can leverage our API layer to bring those orders in. So there's a lot of flexibility on how we work with existing sites. And for myself personally, when I'm going through sales discovery and a sales process, that's something we spend a lot of time on. So a very common application of that would be someone comes in, they say, hey, we have a website. Pretty old, it's pretty outdated. We did it in 2009. We have this developer that's built it for us. It's serving its purpose, but it's not the best thing ever. But what we really want to do is move into online selling. So again, I could say in the short term, let's leave the marketing website as is. Let's get your customer portal environment live. And then all we'll do down the line is just add on that public facing web component via a bundle. And you don't have to recreate the website. You don't have to recreate your product catalog. And you already have that scalable workflow with integration behind the application itself. So again, the ability to work with existing sites is a very common question I get, particularly in these webinar or presentation type settings. So if you do have an existing website and are interested in CimCloud, feel free to ping me. We can work through kind of what that looks like there. And then the last thing that I wanted to hit here, and I think I alluded to it a little bit earlier, but when it comes to project teams, so the way we're structured, and I'm going to go back to that slide right here. The way we're structured is to give you the flexibility to say, I have an internal team. I don't need to outsource my cost. I'm going to keep the project execution on existing payroll dollars. So great, we'll give you the tools, we'll give you the platform, we'll give you everything you need, we'll do the integration, we'll do the site build, and then you're off and running. And here's a checklist and a roadmap to success. Great. You could say, hey, I have, and this is probably the most common for me, Hey, I have an internal team. I have a marketing director and an IT resource and maybe a developer on staff. But they have other things they're doing throughout their day. So they're going to be able to focus, 50% of their time on CimCloud. We need a little bit of organizational help there. So then I can present options between my professional services group or one of my implementation partners to say, all right, let's scope out what additional services work needs to be done. So is that purely content cleanup and importing? If so, great. Maybe that's just, hey, we need a project manager to keep us on track here, make sure they kind of drag us through the ditch, for lack of a better example there. And so again, great, we can identify those resources and options. Or, hey, I want to customize the platform. What does that look like? What options do I have to do a custom design? Or, hey, we have this custom logic. A common example would be, we don't want to fill an order if it's under $100 and outside of XYZ geographic region. Okay, great. Let's get my professional services group looped in, and they can help you build that logic, and then you can self-service on it moving forward. So those were common questions. Apologies for kind of having to pivot on the Q&A portion here. But again, you are seeing my contact information on the screen here. Feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to the Veracus team. They can get you looped in. We work closely. I really wish I was with all of y'all in person. I do miss that. But again, you're seeing my information on screen. Would love to work with you. One thing you'll find about me if we ever connect one-on-one is, if we're not the right solution, I'll do a very good job of identifying that up front, pointing you in a direction that's better suited for your needs. It doesn't do me any good to sell something that's not going to get value for you as a customer. So really do appreciate your time. Definitely appreciate the Veracus Balloon Group for powering through and doing this virtually. Hopefully I'll see all of y'all in person next year or sometime within the next year. But again, thanks for the opportunity to present. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here, and we'll call it a day. But again, appreciate everyone's time. So thank y'all.